Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something that might shake you a little. What if I told you your entire destiny is being decided in the first 10 minutes after you wake up? Yes, not your degree, not your background, not even your past, but the way you wake up each morning. Because every sunrise is not just a new day. It is a silent question life asks you. Will you rise, or will you repeat yesterday? And most people, they don't wake up. They drag themselves out of bed. They open their eyes, but their dreams remain asleep. Please, if you like my videos, like, subscribe, and share my video. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman, broken, paralyzed, told she would never walk again. The world thought her life had ended, but every morning she made a decision, not to cry, not to complain, but to rise, even when her body could not. She said to herself, if I cannot walk, I will still move forward. If I cannot run, I will still chase my dreams. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, she built a life that inspired millions. What changed her destiny? Not luck, not miracles, but her mornings. Because when you wake up with gratitude, you invite blessings. When you wake up with purpose, you create direction. And when you wake up with courage, you defeat fear before the day even begins. But let's be honest, how do you wake up? Do you reach for your phone, scrolling through other people's lives, while ignoring your own? Do you start your day with complaints? I'm tired. I can't. Not today. And then you wonder why nothing is changing. Listen carefully. Your morning routine is not just a habit. It is a declaration. It tells the world, this is who I am becoming. If you wake up weak, your day will be weak. If you wake up distracted, your life will be distracted. But if you wake up with intention, even your struggles will start working for you. So tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you speak a single word, pause, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, today, I choose growth. Today, I choose discipline. Today, I choose to become the person I dream of. Because destiny is not written in the stars. It is written in your daily choices, and your day begins the moment you open your eyes. So rise, not just from your bed, but from your excuses, from your fears, from your past. Rise with fire in your heart and purpose in your soul, because one powerful morning can change your entire life. And remember, you don't need a perfect life to start, you just need a powerful morning. Ladies and gentlemen, your morning decides your destiny, but not in a magical way, not in a way that depends on luck or chance. It happens in the smallest, quietest moments when no one is watching you. The way you wake up, the thoughts you allow into your mind, the first actions you take. They begin to shape the direction of your entire day, and slowly, your entire life. In today's world, mornings have become heavier than ever. The moment your eyes open, your hand reaches for your phone. Notifications, messages, news, social media. Before you even greet your own thoughts, the world has already entered your mind. And without realizing it, you start your day reacting instead of leading. You scroll through someone else's success, someone else's happiness, and suddenly your own life feels smaller. This is how many destinies are quietly weakened, not by failure, but by distraction. There was a young man who once had big dreams. He wanted to build something meaningful, something that would change his life. Every night he promised himself that tomorrow would be different. He would wake up early, work on his goals, stay focused. But every morning the same pattern repeated. The alarm would ring, he would hit snooze, and when he finally woke up, his phone became his world. One video led to another, one post led to another, and before he knew it, hours were gone. By the time he actually started his day, he already felt tired, already felt behind. Days turned into months, and his dreams slowly turned into regrets. Nothing dramatic happened. No big failure, just small, consistent losses every morning. Now think about this. What really stole his destiny? It wasn't lack of talent. It wasn't lack of opportunity. It was the way he chose to begin his day. On the other side, there was a woman living a life full of responsibilities. She had struggles, pressures, and moments of doubt just like anyone else, but she made a quiet decision. Every morning, she would wake up before the world demanded anything from her. She would sit in silence for a few minutes, collect her thoughts, remind herself of her purpose. She didn't have a perfect plan, she didn't have everything figured out, but she had control over her morning. Even when life felt chaotic, her mornings were calm. Even when the world felt loud, her mornings were focused. Slowly, something began to change. Her confidence grew, her clarity improved. She started making better decisions, not because life became easier, but because she became stronger. Opportunities that once felt out of reach began to come closer. People started noticing her discipline, her consistency, and one day she realized that her life had completely transformed. Not overnight, not through luck, but through the power of her mornings. This is the truth most people ignore. Destiny is not a single moment. It is a collection of daily habits, repeated again and again, and the morning is where those habits are born. In today's time, the biggest challenge is not waking up early, it is waking up with awareness. You can be awake physically, but still asleep mentally. You can go through your routine without intention, without direction, and still wonder why nothing is changing. The world is full of noise, full of comparison, full of pressure to be something quickly, to achieve something instantly. But real change does not happen in noise. It happens in the quiet discipline of your mornings. Every morning, you are given a choice. You can either carry yesterday's excuses or create today's purpose. You can either let your mind be controlled by distractions or train it to focus on what truly matters. It is not about doing something extraordinary every day. It is about doing something intentional every day. There is a reason why people who succeed often protect their mornings. They understand that if they win the beginning of the day, the rest of the day follows. They do not leave their mornings to chance. They design them, because they know that the energy you create in the morning stays with you. If you start with negativity, it spreads. If you start with clarity, it guides you. Your morning does not need to be perfect. It does not need to look like someone else's routine. It just needs to be yours. A moment where you choose growth over comfort, purpose over distraction, action over delay. Even a small change can begin a powerful shift. Waking up 10 minutes earlier, sitting in silence, thinking about your goals, reminding yourself why you started. These small actions begin to rewrite your story. And slowly, without you even noticing, your days start to feel different. Your decisions become stronger, your mindset becomes clearer, and one day, you look back and realize that your life has changed. Not because of one big opportunity, not because of one lucky break, but because every morning you chose to rise differently. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment in your life that is so small, so quiet, that most people completely ignore it. Yet it holds the power to change everything. It is not an hour, not a day, not a year. It is just the first 10 minutes after you wake up. In today's world, these 10 minutes have become a battlefield. The moment your eyes open, the world rushes in. Your phone lights up, messages are waiting, notifications are calling your attention, and without even thinking, you surrender. You pick up your phone, not because you need to, but because it has become a habit. And just like that, before you even meet yourself, you meet the world. Those first 10 minutes, which were meant to center you, to ground you, to prepare you, are now being consumed by noise. And slowly, without realizing it, this habit begins to shape your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions for the rest of the day. There was a young girl, full of ambition and dreams. Every night, she would plan her future. She wanted to build a career, improve herself, and become someone her family could be proud of. But every morning, the same thing happened. Her alarm would ring, and before she even sat up, she would start scrolling. One message, then another, then a video, then a comparison. She would see someone traveling, someone succeeding, someone living a life she wished she had. And in just a few minutes, her excitement for the day would turn into self-doubt. By the time she got out of bed, she was no longer motivated. She felt behind. She felt less. She felt like she was already losing. Her day hadn't even started, yet she was already tired. Not physically, but mentally. Days passed, and she kept asking herself why she couldn't stay consistent, why she couldn't stay focused, why her confidence kept dropping. She never realized that the answer was right there, hidden in the first 10 minutes of her morning. Then something changed. One day, she decided to do something different. It was not a big decision. It was not a life-changing plan. She simply decided that for the first 10 minutes after waking up, she would not touch her phone. That was it. The next morning, when her alarm rang, her hand automatically reached for her phone, but she stopped herself. For the first time in a long time, she sat in silence. It felt uncomfortable. Her mind was restless. Thoughts were racing. She didn't know what to do with that quiet. But she stayed. She took a deep breath. She looked around. She allowed herself to wake up slowly, not rushed, not distracted. She began to think about her day, not with pressure, but with intention. She asked herself simple questions. What do I want from today? What matters the most? What is one thing I can do better? Those 10 minutes felt strange at first, but they were different. There was no comparison, no noise, no outside influence. It was just her thoughts, and her choices. Days turned into weeks, and something remarkable began to happen. Her mornings became calmer, her mind became clearer. She no longer felt overwhelmed before the day even began. She started focusing on her own path instead of watching everyone else's journey. And slowly, her actions started to change. She became more disciplined, more confident, more consistent. Not because she suddenly became perfect, but because she took control of the most powerful part of her day. This is what most people fail to understand. Those first 10 minutes are not just minutes. They are a direction. They decide whether you will lead your day or react to it. In today's time, the biggest challenge is not lack of opportunities, it is lack of control over your attention. Everything around you is designed to pull you away from yourself. Social media, constant updates, endless content, they all demand your focus. And if you give in the moment you wake up, you lose the most important battle of the day without even realizing it. When you start your day with distraction, your mind becomes scattered. You jump from one thought to another, from one task to another, without any real direction. You feel busy, but not productive. You feel connected, but not fulfilled. But when you protect those first 10 minutes, something powerful happens. You create a space where your mind can breathe. You give yourself the chance to think clearly, to feel grounded, to start with purpose instead of pressure. There was a man who worked in a high-pressure environment. His days were filled with deadlines, expectations, and constant stress. He used to wake up and immediately check his emails, trying to stay ahead of everything. But instead of feeling prepared, he felt overwhelmed. His mind was already racing before he even left his bed. One day, he decided to change just one thing. He would not check his phone for the first 10 minutes. Instead, he would sit quietly, take a few deep breaths, and remind himself of what truly mattered. At first, it felt like he was wasting time. But within a few days, he noticed something different. He was less reactive, more focused. He started handling situations with clarity instead of panic. His stress did not disappear, but his ability to deal with it improved. And that is the power of those 10 minutes. They do not remove your problems, but they prepare you to face them. These 10 minutes are your foundation. If the foundation is strong, the structure can stand. If the foundation is weak, everything built on top of it begins to shake. You do not need a complicated routine. You do not need hours of practice. You just need awareness. You just need to understand that how you begin matters. In those 10 minutes, you can choose to breathe instead of rush. You can choose to think instead of react. You can choose to focus on your own journey instead of comparing it with others. And slowly, these small choices begin to create a big difference. Your mornings become stronger, your days become more productive, and your life begins to move in a direction that you control. Because at the end of the day, success is not about doing big things once in a while. It is about doing small things consistently. And those first 10 minutes are one of the smallest yet most powerful opportunities you have every single day. Most people are looking for a breakthrough, something big, something dramatic that will change their lives. But they ignore the simple truth. Change does not begin with something big. It begins with something small, repeated with intention. And those first 10 minutes are that beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a difference between waking up and rising with purpose, and in today's world, that difference is quietly shaping lives. Most people wake up every day. Their eyes open, their alarm rings, their routine begins. But waking up is a physical act. It does not require intention. It does not require courage. It does not require clarity. Rising with purpose, however, is something entirely different. It is a decision. It is a mindset. It is a commitment you make to yourself before the world makes any demands from you. In today's time, one of the biggest challenges is not laziness, it is directionlessness. People are busy from morning till night, yet they feel empty. They are moving, but they do not know where they are going. They wake up, but they are not rising. There was a young boy who had everything he needed to succeed. He had access to education, opportunities, and support. But every day, he woke up without any clear purpose. His mornings were filled with random actions. He would check his phone, watch videos, reply to messages, and then rush into his day. There was no plan, no intention, no meaning behind his actions. At the end of each day, he felt tired. Not because he had done something meaningful, but because he had spent his energy without direction. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. He was always busy, but never progressing. He started doubting himself, thinking maybe he was not capable, maybe he was not good enough. One day, he met an older man who asked him a simple question. "Why do you wake up every morning?" The boy was confused. He said, "To go to work, to complete my tasks, to live my life." The man smiled and said, "That is not purpose, that is routine. If you only wake up to survive the day, you will never rise to change your life." Those words stayed with him. The next morning, for the first time, he paused. Before reaching for his phone, before rushing into his routine, he asked himself a different question. What is one thing I want to achieve today that will move my life forward? It was not a big goal. It was something small, something simple, but it was clear. That day felt different. He was still busy, but now his actions had meaning. He was no longer just reacting to whatever came his way. He was choosing where to put his energy. This is what it means to rise with purpose. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. The moment you wake up, there are countless things waiting to take your attention. Social media, news, messages, responsibilities, they all pull you in different directions. And if you are not careful, you spend your entire day responding instead of creating. When you wake up without purpose, you become a follower of circumstances. Your mood depends on what you see. Your energy depends on what happens. Your focus depends on what demands your attention. You lose control over your own life, not because you are weak, but because you are not intentional. But when you rise with purpose, everything begins to change. There was a woman who was balancing multiple responsibilities. She had a family to take care of, work to manage, and personal struggles that no one really understood. Her life was not easy. For a long time, she felt like she was just surviving, just getting through each day. But one morning, something shifted. She realized that if she continued like this, nothing would ever change. She decided that every morning, before doing anything else, she would remind herself of her purpose. Not a big, overwhelming purpose, but a simple one. To become stronger, to grow, to move forward, no matter how small the step. She started waking up with that thought. Even when she was tired, even when she felt unmotivated, she held on to that purpose. Her life did not become easier overnight. Her problems did not disappear, but her mindset changed. She stopped seeing herself as someone who was stuck and started seeing herself as someone who was moving, slowly but surely. Her actions became more focused. She started making better choices. She stopped wasting time on things that did not matter. And over time, her life began to transform. This is the power of rising with purpose. It does not mean you need to have everything figured out. It does not mean you need to have a perfect plan. It simply means you know why you are getting up. You have a direction, even if it is small. In today's fast-paced world, people are constantly chasing big goals, big achievements, big success. But they forget that big things are built on small, consistent actions. And those actions begin the moment you wake up. If you wake up without purpose, your day becomes scattered. You start one thing, then move to another, then another. You feel busy, but you are not moving forward. You feel tired, but you have nothing to show for it. But if you rise with purpose, even the smallest actions begin to matter. Every step you take has meaning. Every effort you make is moving you in a direction. It is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters. Every morning, you are given a choice. You can either wake up and let the day control you, or you can rise and take control of your day. You can either follow the same patterns that are keeping you stuck, or you can create a new pattern that leads you forward. The difference is not in your circumstances, the difference is in your intention. Because waking up is automatic, but rising with purpose is a decision. There is something in your life, so small and so familiar, that you hardly notice it anymore. Yet it is quietly shaping your future. It is not a person. It is not a situation. It is a habit. And the most dangerous habits are not the ones that look harmful, but the ones that feel normal. In today's world, habits are not just formed by choice, they are designed around us. Every notification, every scroll, every late night, every delay, slowly becomes a pattern. And before you realize it, that pattern becomes your lifestyle. You don't question it, you don't resist it, you simply live in it. But what you fail to see is that the same habit you have accepted is slowly breaking your focus, your confidence, and your potential. There was a young man who believed he had no discipline. He would start something with excitement but never finish it. He blamed his lack of motivation, his environment, even his circumstances. But if someone looked closely at his life, they would see a simple pattern. Every night he stayed awake for no real reason, scrolling, watching, distracting himself until his mind was tired but not satisfied. And every morning he woke up late, rushed, and already exhausted. He kept telling himself that he would change tomorrow, but tomorrow always looked like yesterday. One day, he met a mentor who did not give him a long lecture, did not criticize him, did not tell him to change everything at once. He simply asked him one question. What is the one habit in your life that you know is hurting you, but you continue to protect it? The question was simple, but the answer was uncomfortable. The young man realized that his biggest problem was not lack of ability, it was the habit he refused to break. That late-night routine, that endless scrolling, that delay in taking action, it was slowly taking away his energy, his time, and his confidence. The next day, he tried to change. Not everything, just one habit. He decided that he would put his phone away earlier and give himself time to rest. It was not easy, his mind resisted. He felt restless, bored, even uncomfortable, because habits, even harmful ones, feel safe. Days passed, and slowly, something started to shift. His mornings became lighter. His mind became clearer. He started doing the things he had been postponing for months. It was not because he suddenly became a different person. It was because he removed the one habit that was holding him back. This is the truth most people avoid. It is not always the big challenges that break you. It is the small habits you repeat every single day. In today's time, distractions are everywhere. You do not have to search for them. They come to you. And if you are not careful, they become your routine. You wake up and check your phone, not because you need to, but because it is automatic. You delay your work, not because it is difficult, but because your mind is used to comfort. You avoid discomfort, not because you cannot handle it, but because your habits have trained you to escape. And slowly, these habits begin to shape your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who procrastinates, someone who lacks focus, someone who cannot stay consistent. But the truth is, you are not broken. Your habits are. There was a woman who struggled with self-doubt. She believed she was not capable, not strong enough, not disciplined enough. Every time she tried to improve her life, she failed. But no one saw the pattern behind her failures. Every time she felt uncomfortable or challenged, she escaped into distractions. She would avoid difficult tasks, delay important decisions, and then blame herself for not making progress. One day she decided to observe herself, not judge, not criticize, just observe. She noticed how often she avoided discomfort. She noticed how quickly she turned to distractions when things became difficult. That awareness changed everything. She realized that her problem was not lack of ability, it was her habit of escaping. So she made a decision. The next time she felt uncomfortable, instead of running away, she would stay. Even if it was for a few minutes, even if it felt difficult, she would face it. The first few days were not easy. Her mind wanted to go back to old patterns, but she stayed consistent, and slowly, her tolerance for discomfort increased. Tasks that once felt impossible started to feel manageable. Her confidence began to grow, not because life became easier, but because she became stronger. This is the power of breaking a habit. It is not about removing something from your life, it is about creating space for something better. In today's fast-moving world, people are constantly looking for motivation, for inspiration, for something that will push them forward. But they ignore the simple truth. You do not always need more motivation, you need fewer distractions. You do not always need new strategies, you need better habits. The habit that is breaking you is not always obvious. Sometimes it is hidden in your daily routine, the way you spend your time, the way you react to challenges, the way you avoid discomfort. These small actions repeated again and again begin to define your life. Breaking a habit does not mean you have to become perfect. It does not mean you will never struggle again. It simply means you are choosing awareness over autopilot. Every time you resist a harmful habit, you are taking back control. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are building strength. Every time you face discomfort instead of escaping it, you are growing. And slowly, without even realizing it, your life begins to change. Not because something big happened, but because you removed what was quietly holding you back. Because sometimes, the biggest transformation does not come from what you start doing, but from what you finally decide to stop. Pain is something no one invites, yet everyone experiences. In today's world, pain has taken many forms. It is not always visible. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, behind a busy routine, behind a person who says, "I'm fine," when everything inside them is falling apart. The real challenge of today is not just pain itself, but how silently people carry it. There was a young woman whose life changed in a single moment. One day everything felt normal, and the next day everything was different. She lost something she deeply valued. It was not just a loss of comfort, it was a loss of identity, a loss of direction. People around her tried to console her, but words felt empty. She felt stuck in a place where moving forward seemed impossible. In the beginning, she resisted her pain. She questioned it, she fought it, she kept asking, "Why me?" Every morning felt heavier than the last. She would wake up, but she had no reason to rise. Her days were filled with memories of what she had lost, not hope for what she could become. One day, she met someone who did not try to fix her, did not try to give her answers. Instead, he simply listened. After a long silence, he asked her a question that stayed with her. What if your pain is not here to break you, but to introduce you to a strength you have never met before? At first, she didn't understand. How could something that hurts so deeply ever become a source of strength? But the question stayed in her mind. The next morning, nothing around her had changed, but something within her was slightly different. Instead of running away from her pain, she decided to sit with it. She allowed herself to feel it, to understand it, to accept it. It was not easy. There were days when she felt like giving up, days when the weight of everything felt unbearable. But slowly something began to shift. She started noticing that her pain was teaching her things she had never learned before. It was teaching her patience, because healing takes time. It was teaching her empathy, because now she could understand the struggles of others. It was teaching her resilience, because every day she chose to continue even when it was difficult. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she began asking, "What now?" That question changed everything. She started taking small steps. Not big, dramatic changes, just small actions that moved her forward. She began to rebuild herself, not into the person she used to be, but into someone stronger, someone deeper, someone more aware. In today's world, many people are trying to avoid pain at all costs. They distract themselves, they ignore their feelings, they hide behind temporary comforts. But pain does not disappear when you ignore it. It waits, and the longer you avoid it, the heavier it becomes. The truth is, pain has a purpose. It forces you to pause, to reflect, to grow. It breaks the parts of you that were weak and gives you a chance to rebuild them stronger, but only if you are willing to face it. That young woman did not become strong because her life became easy. She became strong because she stopped running. She faced her pain, she learned from it, and she allowed it to transform her. And one day, she realized something powerful. The same pain that once made her feel helpless had now become the reason she was stronger than she had ever been. Because pain, when faced with courage, does not destroy you. It shapes you into someone you never knew you could become. There is a simple truth that many people overlook in today's fast and distracted world. If you win your morning, you begin to win your life. Not because mornings are magical, but because they are powerful. They set the tone, the direction, and the energy for everything that follows. In today's time, life feels rushed before it even begins. People wake up already tired, already stressed, already behind. The moment their eyes open, they are pulled into a world of notifications, responsibilities, and comparisons. There is no pause, no clarity, no intention. And when a day begins in chaos, it rarely turns into something meaningful. There was a young man who always felt like he was losing. No matter how hard he tried, his life felt out of control. His work was inconsistent, his focus was weak, and his confidence was low. He believed that something big needed to change, something dramatic that would fix everything. But one day, he came across a simple idea. Instead of trying to change his whole life, he decided to focus on just one thing: his morning. The next day, he woke up and did something unusual. He did not check his phone. He did not rush out of bed. He sat quietly for a few minutes. At first, it felt strange, almost uncomfortable. His mind wanted distraction, wanted noise, wanted the usual routine. But he stayed. He took a deep breath and asked himself a simple question. What kind of day do I want to create? It was not about what he had to do, it was about how he wanted to show up. That small shift changed something inside him. He started his day with intention instead of reaction. He chose one important task and focused on it before anything else. He gave his best energy to what mattered most. The rest of the day was still busy, still challenging, but it felt different. He was not chasing the day anymore. He was leading it. Days passed, and he continued this practice. Some mornings were easier than others. There were days when he felt lazy, days when he wanted to go back to his old habits. But he reminded himself that change is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Slowly, his life began to shift. His work improved, his confidence grew, and his mindset became stronger. Not because his circumstances changed, but because he started his day differently. This is what it means to win your morning. It does not mean waking up at a specific time or following a perfect routine. It means taking control of the beginning of your day. It means choosing clarity over chaos, purpose over distraction, action over delay. In today's world, attention has become one of the most valuable things, and the morning is when your attention is at its purest. If you give it away to distractions, you lose your power. But if you protect it, you gain control. There was a woman who struggled with balance. Her days were filled with responsibilities, and she constantly felt overwhelmed. She believed she did not have enough time to focus on herself. One day, she decided to wake up just a little earlier, not to do something big, but to give herself a few quiet moments. In those moments, she reflected on her priorities, planned her day, and reminded herself of her strength. Those few minutes became her anchor. No matter how chaotic her day became, she carried that clarity with her. She stopped reacting to every situation and started responding with intention. Her stress did not disappear, but her ability to handle it improved. This is the hidden power of the morning. It prepares you, not by removing challenges, but by strengthening you to face them. Most people try to fix their lives by changing big things. They set huge goals, make big plans, and expect instant results. But they ignore the small daily moments that actually shape their reality. Your morning is one of those moments. If you start your day feeling lost, the rest of your day will follow that pattern. If you start your day with focus, your actions will reflect that. If you start your day with purpose, your life will begin to move in a meaningful direction. Winning your morning is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters first. It is about giving your best energy to the right things before the world takes it away from you. It is in these small, consistent actions that real change happens. A few minutes of clarity, a moment of reflection, a decision to focus. These may seem insignificant, but over time, they create a powerful shift. And one day, you look at your life and realize that everything feels different. Not because of one big moment, but because of many small mornings where you chose to show up differently. Because when you win your morning, you do not just win a few hours. You begin to win your mindset, your actions, and your direction. If you take just one thing from today's message, let it be this. Every morning is a new opportunity to take control of your life. The way you start your day shapes your thoughts, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Don't let distractions, doubts, or yesterday's failures steal your power. Rise with intention, take small, consistent actions, and watch how your life transforms. one morning at a time. If you found this video inspiring, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that they can take control of their day and their life.